So thank you everyone. I see people from Australia to US, so we cover pretty much everywhere. So you can call it as a global meetup. So myself, I'm from Microsoft. I've been working with Microsoft since 12 plus years. It's my 13th year. I'm just finishing 13th year in another month. So I've been working with Azure since the day zero. When you haven't heard of Azure, it was Red Dot. I was a beta tester, alpha tester. It was not even beta. So I've seen Azure grow. What I have learned is that I have to unlearn a lot of things in Azure, because what I learned yesterday is no more relevant today. So it's a constant learning. So PowerShell, I decided to talk about PowerShell tips and tricks because in Azure, we are hearing nowadays DevOps. There will be a talk on ARM template, which is coming after lunch, which will cover pretty much a lot of things around DevOps in Azure. How do you really automate things? And PowerShell plays a key role in that. So you have two options for you. Either you go with the JSON-based template, where you define everything, how your infrastructure will look like, services you want to select from, etc. And then you have PowerShell to actually do programming against those templates. For example, you want to see whether a specific type or a name of a network really exists or not. You can't do that in the ARM template, it will fail. If you have the duplicate name, let's say, it will fail. However, in the PowerShell, you have an option to do programming if-else condition. So let's see how we can do things using PowerShell. So I just would like to quickly understand from the audience how many of you are using Azure in your day-to-day activity. Okay, great. And how many of you are comfortable with PowerShell, non-Azure as well? Windows PowerShell. Okay, all right, it helps. Okay, so when you talk about PowerShell, nowadays it comes with Windows operating system. So you install Windows operating system, you get PowerShell. On top of that PowerShell, what you do is install specific modules. For example, if you want to work with Office 365, you install Office 365 module. Just like Python. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of Python. So if you use Python, you install the core Python library, and then you keep on installing or do a pip install for scikit-learn, for NumPy, etc., depending on what kind of activity you want to do on top of the main Python. Same thing for PowerShell. So you import the module, we call it import module. Now Azure PowerShell, I want to just give you a little clarification, because when you search in the Google or any search engine to find out some resources for yourself, you'll find a lot of PowerShell which doesn't work today. The reason why Azure has gone through changes in the PowerShell model. So initially when we introduced Azure and PowerShell, we introduced a concept called PowerShell Classic Model. We call it now Classic Model, ASM, right? Now it is Azure Resource Manager Model. So it's ARM. So if you find any PowerShell, which is Azure PowerShell, claim to be working, now not working, probably they are ASM. Right? So I will show you how you identify the PowerShell which is ASM, which is ARM. It's easily figurable. So you can figure it out easily how you can find the differences between these two PowerShells. So let's begin with that. If you're a developer, you use IDE to build things. In PowerShell, you also have an IDE which comes in by default when you install Windows operating system like Windows Server or Windows 10. So right now I'm using Windows 10, so let me just go back to my... Hello, yeah. Okay. Yes. Alright, that helps. So I've got a lot of time. I haven't told you for 30 minutes. So I'll never be out of content if I talk about Azure. So let's be sure of that. So first thing first, you need access to Azure to work on Azure PowerShell, because Azure PowerShell, first thing it asks you to log into that PowerShell using your credential. So how do you do that? So you can either run PowerShell from your typical PowerShell window, Windows PowerShell. That comes by default, which runs only on Windows, as the name suggests. Now we are also working on something called PowerShell Core, which will run on all the platforms like Mac OS and Linux, which is based on .NET Core. And as you know, .NET Core runs on all the platforms. It's a platform agnostic runtime, and hence the PowerShell will be built on top of it. The work is on. I have got a beta version released installed in my machine that doesn't have the complete capability to interact with Azure so far. However, this is Windows PowerShell. It works only on Windows. If you come from other background like Linux or Mac OS, if you want to do a command line activity to Azure, you will be using CLI. That's a command line interface. And you can also install that CLI interface in Windows using Ubuntu Bash shell. So I also have that, so I'll show you that as well. Now, just to check whether your Azure is really working or not, what you can do, you first need to log into Azure. To log in, you start typing this, add Azure. I'm not sure if you can see my screen. Let me do it in a different window so that you have a better view. This is a little too small here. So this is your IDE for PowerShell, which has got two views together, and I can zoom it. Let me know. Okay. And then I say add Azure. Now it gives you IntelliSense because I have been typing here since ages. So you see Azure PowerShell comes with an Azure RM. Whatever PowerShell has got RM after Azure world is all ARM based PowerShell, the latest PowerShell. Okay? It will work. And if I say add Azure account, what it will do, it will prompt me to log into Azure. So if you see here, it asks me for the credential. So I can just type my credential and go on. If I just skip this because I'm already logged in, it will throw me an error, and I want to see whether I'm literally logged in or not. So to do that, I want to see what all virtual machines I have in my subscription. To do that, you have very structured way of defining PowerShell. So if you want to read something, you say get dash Azure RM followed by something. If you want to modify some existing one, that means update, you do set or update. And then you want to remove, you say remove. You want to add, you say add or new. So that's how it's a verb and noun combination. So verb is the action, what you want to do, and followed by the noun of what exactly you want to do. We have a great help within PowerShell itself. I'll show you how you can leverage that help. For example, I want to retrieve all the virtual machine I have. So I know that it uses something called get, should have something called Azure RM, and it should have something called VM or something like that. So how do I find it out? So your friend would be, let me just write this side. Your friend would be get help. Now this is the help for you to find out a specific command. But if you don't know the specific command right now, I don't know the specific command, you can do a wildcard search. So you start with get star Azure RM. I know it will be all together. And then I say VM and I say star. Now you can see that there are a bunch of commands for me to really find out things I wanted to search for. So it found something like Azure VMS, RM, VMS, SVM, and then you have size also. So all sort of things which includes all those words, and the one I'm looking for is this one, Azure RM VM. Now I don't know what kind of parameter it really takes. So when you write in script, you need to pass on the parameter. But when you are doing in the interactive window like this, in the command prompt, the parameter, the mandatory parameter will be prompted to you. So you will find that if you type something, it will be prompted to you to provide the parameter. However, you have to provide all the parameter, mandatory parameter, in the script when you run a script. So let's try to see what all parameters I can have. So I can say get dash Azure RM VM, which will give me kind of like what exactly it's looking for. Now this really is a nice document, and also at the end of the document you can find what all switches you can use. So you have option to see examples, which helps. And then you can go and say search for detailed one. We will talk about each of the parameter, what is the position of the parameter. Sometimes parameters are positioned, so you type one parameter without any explicitly specifying the name. You need to provide the sequence of the parameter, right? Sequence of the parameter. Then you can go online, which is most updated document. So this Azure PowerShell, you can see that it keeps updating its documentation, commandlets, references regularly. However, if you, let's say, you use a machine after 10 months, you might find the Azure PowerShell which is obsolete, which I figured out yesterday. That I had a VM which I never switched on in Azure, and I yesterday switched on just to clear a backup so that just in case my laptop doesn't work, I can connect to that VM. And I found that some of the commandlet I was planning to show today doesn't really work there because that's old one. So I had to update that, which will update all the documentation and everything. So if you just type something like this, dash examples, it starts really talking about what you can do. Let me just minimize that. So you can see that it starts with example 1, which it asks you to provide the resource group. So resource group is a container within Azure from where you have everything. So it's like your C drive is your subscription, and inside the C drive you have folders. So resource group is the folder within C drive within Azure subscription. Think about that. So you have to create file within the folder. You cannot do outside of the folder. That's what the concept of resource management. Now you always have to provide the resource group name to be able to work with Azure command list most of the time. Some of the times it's optional, but most of the time it is mandatory. So you can see that I can just type the resource group name and the name of the virtual machine to specifically point to a single virtual machine. However, I can run just the command get Azure RM VM, and then I just enter. So it will give me list of VMs on all of my subscription I'm currently logged into, and it will tell me a couple of things. For example, it will tell me things like what is the location of my virtual machine, what is the size of the virtual machine, what is the operating system, and then provisioning state. Because the space is limited, I think provisioning state comes little. So let's see, succeeded. It says succeeded, and then the NIC information on all these things. Now this is a kind of report you can think of, and my manager really wants me to show what all VMs I am really working on. Give me the list of the VM. It's a kind of repository my IT manager is asking for. So what I can do, I can really do and export to CSV. I don't know whether that's why it's not coming. It should come like that. Anyways, so what I wanted to also tell you, because I wanted to touch on briefly, is the pipe command. So those who come from the Unix world, you know the significance of the pipe command. So you can continue the output of the previous statement in the second statement. Let me show you that. So for example, I've got the list of VMs, and you can see all of the VMs are mostly in shutdown mode. So if I show you the list of VM in the portal, you can see that all the VMs right now in a stop deallocated mode, and one of them is running. Right? I will just highlight that and increase the size of the screen. And if I go a little down, I can see that this is highlighted and it is running, which means this is in run condition. Let's suppose this is evening time, and I'm leaving the office. This is a dev test environment. If I shut down the VM, then I'll be able to save a lot of money. This is one of the things which a lot of people use in the dev test environment. Now, shut down VM in Azure can be in two different ways. Either you can go inside the VM, go into the Windows menu and click on shutdown. That's one way. But that doesn't deallocate the IP addresses. and things like DNS name, etc. for that VM, which keeps on charging you even if you're not running VM. If you go into the portal and shut down the VM, which will change the state of the VM to the stopped deallocated mode. So you can see in my case, most of the VMs are in stopped deallocated mode because I run something called Azure automation. So I don't have to every time go and manually switch on the PowerShell and then execute a script. I have a scheduler which runs in the background, which keeps on checking all my VM and then shut them down. In Azure, there is now new feature where you can specify a specific VM to shut down in a specific time. For example, a VM is being used by EMEA team and their day ends around 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. So you shut down the VM at that point. For people working in India time, you may want to shut down at 6 p.m. right? So those things you can mention in the specific VM and you can define that. So I'll just show you how I can switch this VM off without really specifying this VM name and resource group name. I want to generalize this. So what I can do, I can use the power of pipe command. So here I've got the list of VM now. Now I can do something like for each object, and this allows me to write a little program. So I can run a loop over here. So what this loop really looks like is that I want to stop that VM. Now to be able to stop that VM, let me just show you the stop Azure VM. Stop Azure RM VM. You need to provide two things. One, the name of the VM. Let's suppose VM1, and the resource group name. So let's pick up the resource group name, which is of the VM1, and the resource group is RG small VM1. Let me pick up the resource group name. That's it. And then it will prompt you because you are shutting down a VM. So you can use a switch called -force, then it will never prompt. So in automation world, you don't really expect a pop-up window to come and then somebody to click on that, right? So it should happen at the back end. This is shut down, already shut down mode, but it will still try to do that and tell you the result, right? This is how you shut down a specific VM by providing two information, and third one is just confirmation, right? It says succeeded. You can see that VM got shut down. Now, this is specific to a single VM. Now I want to run that previous command which gives me the list of VMs, and then I run something like for each loop, each dash object, okay. And then I say stop Azure RM VM. You can really go complicated, and then say name of the VM. And what is the name of the VM? The name of the VM will come from the previous statement, which is get Azure RM VM. It gives me an object, and the property of the object is name, which gives me the name of the object. So how do I catch that object, which is output of the previous statement, is by $_dot. And it gives me the list of properties or attributes, however you want to call it, in this. So I can just type name. And then I will also provide the resource group, which is also mandatory directory. You have seen that two things I need to always pass on. So I'll say resource group name, and I say dash as $_dot resource group name. It's there. Now I can also pass the force parameter, which will ensure that there is no prompt waiting for me to click. So I can say force. Force makes sure that it says shut down without me interrupting into that script. I have no option, so it will be shut down. So what I can do, I can go at the end and then I can just run it on. Now what it will do, it will try to iterate to all the VM, see whichever VM is in the switch on mode, and it will shut down that VM. So it keeps on iterating things within the boundary of it. So you can see that first one is succeeded because the VM, if you see in the list, I've got a couple of VMs, right? Some of the VMs like VM1, 2, 3, they are all in shutdown mode. So it will keep on iterating to all of them and then try to shut down and then say succeeded, right? Because they are all in shutdown mode. So you can see it is just going through that phases. So this is how you can literally use single line PowerShell to do a lot more stuff. If you think of this as a programming language, you have to first create an object in an array, which is basically my get Azure RM VM is giving me an array of object, which is VM, with their state, name, resource group, etc., etc. And then I can loop through that array and then check the condition whether there's switched on or shut down, right? They're running or stop deallocated. So I can check the status also. So you'll find one of the properties of the VM object which I get from the get Azure RM VM is the status of the VM. So what is the status of the VM? Now once this is done, so I think we have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I go here and I just refresh this, it is probably now trying to shut down the VM 6, the VM 6. Now after that it will come to VM 17. So let me see the count: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, now let's come here. So now I can just refresh it, and it should be in a stop deallocated mode pretty soon. So let's just wait for some time, because this is running. This will take longer time because it has to first shut down the Windows server, which takes time to shut down, and then it has to deallocate all the resources it is holding right now, which is public IP address, your any dynamic static IP address or internal IP addresses, etc. It will release them so that you can use it on it. Any question? Any doubt? No question? No question means that I'm not doing great. Alright. So I can also have a small output saying that which VM it is doing. So all those output can be done. So I'm going to show you how you can do a little programming in the other side of the window, which is basically the white area where you can do write multiple lines of code and execute. So let's just finish the execution. So it should be doing it for this VM. So let me just refresh this. Yeah, so there Azure has got something called activity log. So you can go into the activity log section and see what exactly you have done in the whole of Azure. So inside the VM there will be an activity log, like a Windows log, DPA loop. So it's there already, but beyond that, outside the VM, whatever you have done, you can also catch those activities. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is still running. So it is still running. So the thing is like, you think of this VM is hosted in a Windows Server host. There's a box where the VM is hosted. So what I'm performing right now at the host level, I haven't gone inside the VM because I haven't provided the login credential to get inside the VM. So I'm not inside the VM, I'm outside the VM trying to switch off the VM. So it is more of a host level activity. So what you need to do is that you need to read the host level log where the VM is hosted to be able to see what exactly you have done.
I think we cannot get that.
No, you can. That's what the Azure activity log is. So there is a section in that called Azure activity log which tells you, like being a user, say ABC, what are the things you have done from 8 AM to 11 AM in the morning. So it will tell you exactly that. And then we have got something called Azure Security Center, which tells you things in a much more detailed way. And then you have got OMS, which is basically monitoring tool for Azure, which gives you the clear picture of what exactly happened over there. So you have tools to visualize those logs. You can use those logs into your own log viewing mechanism if you have them. So there are ways, we have the log already available. There are ways by which we can pull the log for our own viewing tool. We can also give you that access. It's already given access to you being a subscription owner. You can also pull that log out and then view it in your tool. Right? So for example, the customer I work with, they use ServiceNow. So they use ServiceNow, and as part of their architecture, they read the Azure activity log and pull that on to the ServiceNow, and then do the activity over there. They don't use any of the Azure monitoring tool to monitor anything for Azure.
can run that simple manual.
We will see similar behavior or
So there will be some difference in the output. Yeah. So it will be and the command also is different. So it's AZ login, which is logging to CLI tool, and then AZ for VM, and then you do a little different way how you write script for Linux. It's more of a Linux way of writing things. Yeah. So hopefully this should be done. Now you can see that this is now stop deallocated, right? Because it has run successfully without me interrupting. There is no prompt for me, and I can actually do that. So what I have done is that I have taken the list of VMs, I have modified them, and then I have created some sort of loop in a single line. So if I just copy the whole content of this line and then put it on over here, just for a quick moment so that I can copy it. Now I just want to show you because this looks good. I can just do a multi-line. This is your editor. Now when you do multi-line, you do not have to do all this pipe thing. What you can do, you can get things in parameter within PowerShell. So variable. So if you say VMs, that's basically list of VM. You can specify which resource group you want to point to. So if you have a resource group level activity, so you can go to resource group and then get all the VM within a single resource group, or else you can get everything from that. So this gives me a list of VM. Now I can run a for each loop, for each, and I say VM in VMs. Those who are from C# are quite familiar with this looping concept, right? You have that collection and then you have an object. So each time it iterates through that loop, it will ensure that that object is created, and then you don't really care about when it is ending out of index. It's a really cool way. Now I can just pass this on. I take this option, right? And then I say, instead of $_ I can say $VM. This is where I'm writing script in multiple lines. I don't do this. Now I can do a lot of cool stuff over here. I can say that write post so that I can figure out what is exactly happening. Stopping the VM, and then I can just pass on the VM name in $VM. And then I can also have a foreground color, cyan. And then once it is stopped, right, I can also say that in my output window, saying that stopped the VM, and then I can change the color to green, indicating that my thing is successfully done. Right, let me run this. Now to run this, you can either copy the whole content and paste it in the PowerShell window. You can run that way. You can also run it from the top. There is a green run button. In typical Windows IDE scenario, you use F5 to run. So you can use either of them. And it basically does a copy paste over here. Now it prompts because I did not use force. Remember that. Now it also shows me a little output which does not give me the name of the virtual machine because I did not pick up the right object. But however, you can see that it is telling me that I am doing activity in specific steps. So this is beyond what the PowerShell gives you as an output. You can give your own output. You can add times, etc. You can put them into a log file, all those things. That will keep on asking because I am at the stop. So I can just click on the stop window and just kill the window of activity because it will take longer time. Now this is how you manipulate or manage or play with existing VM. Now I will go and then show you quickly how you can create a VM from PowerShell. Now when you create a VM in Azure, you start from scratch. Let's suppose you have nothing in that Azure, just Azure subscription. So what you really need to do is you need to really start from basic, like you have to create a resource group. That's the beginning because it's a resource group model. Everything has to be inside a resource group. Now after the resource group is created, you need to create network. The virtual network we call it in Azure, which basically will give you the networking capability. It's a software control network, right? It's not a network you go and plug in somewhere. It's already there, it's available for you. So you create a virtual network. As part of the virtual network creation, you create a subnet. You give a range of IP addresses. And then you create internal IP address, which will be given to the virtual machine. And then you will either create an optional thing, a public IP address. If you want to access the VM from outside of the boundary of the network, you have created it, right? And then you create a NIC, network interface, and then assign that to VM later on. You create NSG, which is a network security group, to open the port, specific number of port you want to access the VM for. For example, you want to run a web server. If you want to run a web server, you need to enable the port 80 or 443. 443 for HTTPS, 80 is for typical HTTP. If you want to do a remote desktop, RDP, if it's Windows VM RDP, you use 3389, you can use another port also. You can use SSH if it's Linux VM, and then you provide the SSH port if it is a Linux VM. So like that, you need to keep on adding those things, and then when you create the VM, you attach all of them. It's quite complicated to me. It seems like when I'm starting new. So what Microsoft has done, they have given you option to provide every parameter is optional, only except 3. So we'll see what all those 3. And I showed you that you don't need to really remember what all the parameters you have to provide unless you go to the get help, the name of the command layer, and then say full. It will tell you all the parameters which is optional, which is mandatory. So you don't have to go at that level. However, you can just say new Azure RM VM and just say enter. Happy. It asks you to enter the name of the VM. So I say I want to create a VM10, just a name, and then this asks me the local admin credential. Right? Local admin credential is the local admin for that box, the VM I'm creating. First time when I log in, I probably need to pass the local admin. Later on, I will add it to the domain of my enterprise or the domain to find there. Then I can use the domain credential. But first time, the local admin is important. Now, a few things: local admin cannot be admin, administrator. Those are the keywords we don't allow. So if you provide admin and administrator, it will fail. So you provide something different. So I will provide my name, and then the password has to be 12 characters with the strong password thing. So if you go into the portal and try to create a VM, those are the error. Otherwise, I don't know about it. So nobody says that in any documentation. So, but if you go to the portal, that says that. So if I just type this, it takes that thing. What it's going to do is that it's going to create a resource group. Now you can see the progress on top of the window. It says that what exactly it is trying to create. So you will see there will be a resource group created for me. First thing, a resource group will be VM10 resource group, something like that. And then we will create the public IP addresses, virtual network, subnet, all this stuff. And if I go back to my Azure portal and go into the resource groups, I'll see a resource group with a VM10, something like that. So